Mark Mitchell with Marks and Splashes Online Learning, and this is workshop number 2 with our friends, the Girllustrators, and we've got them all here. Let's start with Luz Marie Iturbe, fine artist, graphic designer, and a native of Mexico. She writes and illustrates for children, and she has been working on a series of apps that help children learn Spanish. And she is also working on picture books teaching children about crafts and traditions. And she has a fantastic fine arts education from BFA type education from Mexico. She's a fine arts painter as well as an illustrator. And next to Luz Marie, these guys are all in Austin, Texas. Next to Luz Marie is Marcia Reedy. Marcia Reedy has illustrated 12 books, and all of the covers for the Critters Club series of picture books that Simon & Schuster has published. And she illustrated The Picky Little Witch by Brokamp. What's the author's name? Huh?
It was Elizabeth Brokamp.
Elizabeth Brokamp, Picky Little Witch, and Marcia too is a fine arts graduate and a good friend. We've known each other a long time. And Vanessa Rader is here, and I've known Vanessa a long time too. And Vanessa has illustrated 6 picture books, including The Angel Guardian, Varla's Gift, and Useless. And is Useless a picture book, Vanessa?
It's more like a chapter book. It's just a collection of stories.
Story collection. And she's also illustrated for Highlights magazine. She's a muralist too, and she creates art for children's magazines, picture books, and homes where she paints murals for kids' rooms and fun stuff like that. Vanessa is represented by Rebecca Sherman of Writers House Agency, who we hope to hear from next month or the month after. We're going to have Vanessa doing her own special program with us about being a freelance author illustrator, working with an agent of the caliber of Writers House, and also talking about her new picture book that comes out next month. And it's called, I wrote it down. Where did I put it? Say the title again.
Lucy and the String.
Lucy and the String picture book, and several of us are going to her book signing at Book People in Austin on Saturday, August 11th, after the SCWI meeting. Several of us are going to her book signing at Book People in Austin on Saturday. Let's see. I'm going to check the page and make sure you can hear and see all of us. Okay, I got everybody right. Yeah. Let's see. Let's make sure we can hear. Yes, we've got a page full of comments already. We got Pam from Carlsbad, California. Maya, I'm not sure where you're from. Deb is from Portland. Davis, California. Virginia's up in the Michigan area. Yeah, anyway, great to see all of you. Thanks for joining us on workshop number 2. Can you hear and see us okay? If you can, would you please just type a Y into the chat box and on the screen, and then I'll know we're connecting and you're part of the program. Hey, Shuang, got some news about Shuang. Let me put myself back up. This is Shuang's new hardcover publication of her book, I Was Once a Stem Cell.
That
it's a beautiful book with her beautiful watercolor illustrations. Shuang was actually an MD physician in China, and then she came to this country, and she's now working as a lab scientist. She's working as a scientist, PhD scientist, and this is a nonfiction picture book that treats the science of stem cells and how they become babies and people. And it is an awesome picture book that Shuang published herself, first in softcover, and then she had it printed in hardcover. I got my copy just a few weeks ago, and it is awesome. It's an awesome book. I'll just turn it to one of these spreads. It's also got a lot of humor in it, but it gives you a sense of the majesty of of this biology and the growth of human stem cells, and she treats it in watercolor with very evocative prose. That's just it's just a wonderful experience reading this book. So we're real proud of Shuang. She's been in our group for a long time, and this has been a labor of love, and it's beautiful. Shuang, congratulations. I was once a stem cell, the journey before I was born. And in the next email, I'll put out an order link on Amazon for you so you can get it. All right, so guys, let's see. I think everybody's hearing us. Yes, I'm getting lots of Y's. Good, good. If you're having trouble hearing, the volume control is usually under the player on the YouTube watch page. If things are looking a little fuzzy for you, you can go over to settings, which is the gear icon on the lower right side of your player, and you can click that and adjust your resolution up to 720 pixels, and then you can get a high version, which these things record in. So you might as well take advantage of the technology if you can, and see everything in high def. It's particularly important when you're looking at the artwork. If you want to actually go to the folder and the shared class folder and follow along by looking at the actual art as you're hearing the critique, I will post that link to the page here. I think most of you probably already have it, and then you can have the shared folder open and be following instead of watching it on the video. And if the screen freezes on you, you know what to do. Just hit refresh your page, refresh your browser window, and that should take care of any freezing. And the replay will be up immediately after our live stream. We're not going to go as long as we did last time, although there were a lot of, Marcia, I don't know, there were a lot of great comments about last month's session, and one of our gang described it as epic, and she was just thrilled. She loved it.
Oh, that's
epic.
Awesome. Yeah. It was really epic, and I honestly am glad that we touched on all the pieces that we touched on. I'm thankful that we have a more limited selection this time around. But it really gave, I think, all of us a window into your group and the quality and the ideas behind, all of these pieces are just really great, and it was really cool knowing your group.
It was a deep dive for all of us, and people were watching it, and then they'd come back and watch it. And I think the episode ended up getting something like 170 views, which is about 3 times more people than are actually in the group, which means that people were coming back and watching it, getting through the whole 3 hours of it. So yeah, that was really fun. There were a lot of great comments about it. They really enjoyed it. So yeah, tonight we're going to pick, the Girllustrators have picked 10 of the pieces to talk about, and that's another thing too. We are going to look at these pieces again. We will have a debrief after the workshop series kind of starts to wrap up in the fall, around October, November, and we will look at the pieces. You can also bring the pieces back. I think like when we get Vanessa's agent on, we might just, instead of her giving you a prompt like the Girllustrators are doing, we can just, I'll tell you to bring, upload your favorite pieces from the workshop series, and you can, and so we want to, everything will be looked at by the time we're done. But tonight, while we've got the Girllustrators and their busy schedules to look at your work, they're going to pick 10, and you can take your lessons and wisdom from what they say about these 10. I'm sure they picked the 10 very carefully that they're talking about. So good. What else, guys? Anything else we need to talk about before we move into our discussion about relationship?
No, I think we're good.
I think we're good. Okay.
So I think that because the prompt was all about relationships between characters, we should start off this conversation about how the Girllustrators work together and what our relationship is like together.
That would be wonderful. Yes.
How that is, how that works in with our relationship professionally. when we are together in our group setting, like when we have our monthly meetings, and if we choose to critique each other's pieces, or if we ask to have our work critiqued. Um, if you don't mind, would it be okay if I went ahead and
Yes, that would be great, Marcia. Yeah, take it away.
So the Girllustrators, we are, I consider us to be a really tight-knit group, and we rely on each other. Sometimes, I mean, not just because of illustration, but life stuff. Everyone's got stuff going on in their lives that it's nice to have friends to be able to talk to about. And that's a big part of the Girllustrators. It's not just a professional group and a critique group, but it's also a support group, because
Yeah.
sometimes life can be really hard and you need buddies there for you. And professionally, though, we're there to support one another when people have achievements, and also when people need some extra help, like critiquing either writing or illustration. And we're also there to be supportive with, promoting each other's work. Like Vanessa's book that is going to have a launch, Lucy and the String. We're going to get together and we're going to make some giveaways for her book launch.
Oh, okay.
That's
The
another
actual.
benefit in going to the book launch, is to get some cool giveaways.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
I know. I'm so grateful to this group, because it's like Marcia said, we support each other, and it's great to be able to relate professionally, but also personally, because we all go through stuff in life, and we're trying to balance work and home, and whatever our home life is like, whether we're mothers or daughters taking care of parents, or spouses, things like that. We're there to offer support in more ways than just professional support, and it's great to be able to relate to people in that way. And in this business, which can be so it takes a lot of perseverance to.
And you're working in solitaire too, right?
Yes, yeah, a lot of alone time. You get to work by yourself and become a hermit, but it's great to have. Yeah, it's great to have people to not only talk shop with, but just figure out how we can balance work life and home life, and we do that together. So
How did y'all coalesce as a group? Can you remember back that far, or how did the Girllustrators really come together?
Well, it started with Shelly Ann Jackson, and she is still part of their group, but she can't take as big a role as she used to, because she's now a professor at a university in London, and I can't remember the name.
It's the John Ruskin's Cambridge School of Art in England. And Ruskin was a famous art critic from the 18th century, I guess. So it's got lots of legacy about it. But yeah, she and her husband, illustrator Jeff Crosby, they moved to London, right? Or they moved to Cambridge.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cambridge. I shouldn't say London. I apologize.
Oh, I think it's real close, but
that just shows my lack of knowledge of that area.
Yeah, I've never been there either, but.
She was she was the person who essentially said, hey, I just moved here from Colorado. And for her, Colorado wasn't as great for groups for her. And I'm not saying that in any way is, like the case for everybody else in Colorado, but for her, it was really hard for her to form a critique group. And she specifically wanted to form one here in Austin as soon as she moved here, with all male illustrators, because she just felt like there are issues that female illustrators have to deal with that male illustrators don't necessarily have to deal with. And so she contacted me at the, I can't remember what year it was, but it was like apparently 10 years ago at a SCWI regional conference. And it was like, she came over and she was like, hey, you want to like meet up and form a critique group? And it was myself and Amy and Patty. And we were, meeting a couple times. And then we wanted to like, I mean, that's essentially how it started. And so she was really the nucleation point. Let's get sciencey about that.
Nucleation. Well, so when did Luz Marie come on, and Vanessa and Emma and some of the others? Do you recall? Or
it was after a conference for Luz Marie. We invited you out for dinner at Guero's. Remember that?
Yes.
And we were so taken with like how totally nice and sweet you were. And you were new to Austin.
Austin, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Vanessa, I actually wanted you to be part of the group for a really long time.
Aw.
Because I thought your work was so awesome, and that it was only a matter of time before you were going to get like published. But our group was at max capacity at that point, and so it was really hard, committing that, doing that.
Right.
And so when we got you on, I can't remember when you joined.
It was, I think, 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe. It's like it.
So you just don't take on every, huh?
I mean, it feels like like I've known y'all forever, but also that I have, that I just got the email saying, hey, would you like to join the group?
Just the other day, yeah.
Yeah, so.
But you don't take everybody as a group, right? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of, and the group is, your focus is illustration, author illustration. Do you push each other in a certain direction?
To do author illustration now.
Mm-hmm.
Author illustration.
Like, I personally had a hard time with critiquing other people's writing in the group, and that was just a personal thing, and it's because of the time commitment that you have to devote to critiquing writing. And also illustration. It is a lot. It's a lot of time. And we already had meetings that would run way, way over. Like, we were getting home around like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night from our meetings.
From your meeting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so now it really is like, I'm fully on board with making it, we got to push ourselves to be author illustrators, because it's the only way that you could really make a living in this industry. And also because it's such a competitive market, only being an illustrator, it's hard. It's really hard to find a gig being just the illustrator.
Okay, we're listening to that, Marcia. We're hearing what you're saying there. That's a big point.
What do you feel about this, Vanessa? Because you just signed on like 2 years ago with Writer's House, and you have a multi-book contract with Dial.
Yes.
Illustrator.
Well, I know when I was looking for an agent, so many agents, if you were just an illustrator, they only asked you to submit as an illustrator if you were an author illustrator. So
that's the case with Rebecca Sherman, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so being able to write as well as illustrate gave you a leg up in the sense that you could submit to more people. And like Marcia said, it's a very competitive market. So if you can do both, you'll have more of an advantage. And then, like you said, it helps pay the bills when you get paid both as a writer and an illustrator.
Well, it's not like there's a college curriculum out there on writing for children. So what do you recommend, and what do your peers out in the industry, what do they say about how to get up to speed on?
Just do your research. Read as many picture books as you could get your hand on.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things you could do. Figure out what is, selling in the market, the kind of, so many publishers say, for picture books, keep it 500 words or less. They really want to have that syncopation, I think is the term, where the words leave enough room for the illustrations. So they want the text and the illustrations to work kind of like work cohesively, that where the illustrations pick up where the text leaves off. And so that means not a lot of exposition, a lot of deep or description in your manuscripts, because you want the illustrations to tell part of the story. And another thing to do is, I read lots of books on how to craft picture books. But yeah, I think one of the best teachers is just reading picture books that are out there.
Immersing yourself in books.
Another thing, I guess, is to be with kids. That's why I love to teach, because they are so inspiring.
And their dialogue and their jokes are great too, right?
So Liz Marie has 3 girls who are amazing.
Already, so they're not inspiring anymore. But yeah, to be with kids, I think.
Okay, I constantly steal ideas from my kids.
Oh my God, August is full of amazing ideas.
I know, he's hilarious.
How old is August now?
He'll be 6 on Sunday, and yeah, he is a mess, and he's constantly giving me, great ideas. Just being around him. But my daughter also, she's 17, but she would come up with ideas for picture books, and I, would tell her, that's a great idea for a picture book. And she'd say, that's mine, Mom, don't steal it.
She's working on hers, huh?
Intellectual property.
And then one of these dummy books I wrote, she came up with the idea 2 years before she finally said, okay, Mom, you can write that book.
She really has a grasp on this intellectual property thing, doesn't
I know. I really should credit my children for writing my books.
Not credit, royalties. They want royalties.
Right.
A share of the royalties. Well, that's really great. Well, so how would you distinguish a critique in a Girllustrator session from a critique at one of the awesome SCBWI meetings where they have open critiques after the meeting and people go upstairs and they got the writers over here and the illustrators over here? What's the difference between the two?
Not a lot. Here's the thing. I actually run those.
Yeah.
So
well, then you're the perfect person to answer the question.
I don't need to be hogging, but I actually moderate. I co-moderate with Thomas. I am.
Yeah, Thomas Young he's wonderful.
Young. It's Young.
Yeah.
He is amazing.
I really was impressed by him. There's Elena. Maybe there she is.
Hey.
Oh.
All right, let's let Elena wave to everybody. Can you hear us, Elena? She doesn't have audio.
Oh.
Can you hear? Keep working on it. All right, so
I co-moderate the SCBWI illustrator critique group after the meetings. I'm not always there because sometimes I have stuff with my daughter, and so the way that those are run is we try to sandwich the critiques with, it's talk about something that is, wonderful about the piece, and then the meat of the critique is something that, and the way that I always phrase this is, if you would find what you're about to say helpful to you, then say it. If it would be hurtful or not helpful, don't say it. And then you finish up with another hey, this is what I legitimately feel good about your piece. And it's not just to say something that is a throw off compliment. It really should be something that you find striking,
valuable and helpful to you.
Yeah, and so it's a sandwich method, and that's usually how we run the critique groups for after the meetings, and then for the critiques. And we don't always critique pieces at our Girllustrator meeting, but when somebody does ask for a critique, I think that it's pretty similar. People are very, they make sure that the way that they phrase a critique and what they're critiquing is helpful, not hurtful, and that it's constructive critique. How do you all feel about that?
Does it get confusing with when they bring in a dummy and then suddenly you're critiquing not just the pictures but the storyline and the pacing and all these subtle things? It seems like it could get kind of confusing in a way, and the messages would get muddied somehow.
Well, for the illustrative critique group, I specifically try not to critique
Get into
writing because really they should go over to the writing side to get that critique. We don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the Girllustrators, though, like it is definitely open for anybody to bring writing and illustration together. Like a couple meetings back, in the Verhan brought a picture book dummy for this really cute new picture book, and I will not talk about it, but it's super cute.
Okay.
And we all looked at it and we loved it, and we also had, I think that there was some critiquing being done during that session. I can't remember exactly what happened. Do you remember that? It was the meeting at Eliza's house.
Mm-hmm. That was, did you say Emma's book? I'm sorry, it cut out.
It was Emma's book.
Okay, yeah, she read it to us, and yeah, we offered a little feedback on the writing as well as the illustration.
And how do you feel her response to that critique was?
Oh, I think it was great. I can't remember if it was that meeting that she went home and reworked her book and was grateful for all the input, I think.
Did she give you the manuscript ahead of time to read and digest? And
No,
you read it.
It wasn't like a very long manuscript that she had the whole thing dummied out. I mean, it's a picture book. They're typically very short, but I mean, she had the whole thing dummied out, and we were able to give her advice right then and there. And but we do, if we have work that we want feedback on, we will email each other. When we're in between meetings, email manuscripts or artwork to get feedback on. So we're always available for each other.
How do you feel about that, Ms. Marie, with critiquing in the Girllustrators group? Because I know that you've sent some pieces into the group that have critiqued. It's been a little while, but do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, you're very good guys at critiquing, so it's always useful to have your opinion. And because sometimes when you are making a piece, or it's very, very hard for only yourself to see what's not going well. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you say, okay, it's finished and that's it. But when I listen to you, it's very different, because your suggestions are like, whoa, how I didn't see that. They are totally right. So it's always, and the way you do it, the way we say the good things and bad things, and always it makes me feel very good, and at the same time it's very constructive.
And that's the sandwich method that Marcia was talking about. And how does it work again? That you say something nice?
So the sandwich method would be, saying something nice, and it can't be just like something that you don't really believe in. You have to actually enjoy whatever it is that you're talking about, and
sure.
And then the middle portion of it is the criticism, but it really should be constructive critique as opposed to a destructive critique that would take somebody down and not be helpful. So constructive critique or constructive criticism is something that would help them in their art progress to where they want to go, not where you think they should go. And then to end it up is to sandwich it with another like positive. And what that does is it allows somebody to keep their ears open to the constructive criticism, because they started with something that's positive, it's ended with something positive, and if you end it with something that could be perceived as being a criticism, and critique's even constructive, could be like taken as being a negative thing, even though it's there to help another person progress towards the better like illustrator that they should be. It's hard to like end it like that and to have somebody feel good. And so ending it with like something positive is always a good idea.
Makes the medicine go down easier. Well, does this work as well for writing as it does illustrating, or does it work for both?
I think so. The reason, like where I got this idea from was from Liz Garden-Scanlon.
Yeah.
She used to teach this amazing writing class at ACC.
Yeah.
It was such a deal. And I think I took 3 or 4 semesters of that. And
with Liz? Oh, wow. Yeah, she taught creative writing. She's taught poetry and all kinds of things at ACC. Yeah. And of course, she's a renowned children's book poet now. Yeah, has been forever.
And so that's where I learned that critiquing method.
And it also, it keeps the comments down to three distinct comments. The good thing, the not so good thing, and then it has an end and says that's, and then you're done. Then you can move on to the next picture or person.
I'd like to add that an important part of our critiques is asking questions. Because a lot of times, we want to know more about maybe something. You have to understand where a person is going with their project. And it can be, not only do we want to make sure we understand where the person is going with their objective, but it can also be very revealing as the creator to hear those questions, because you might not, first of all, you might not know that something isn't clear, but also it's helpful to be put on the spot to articulate your goals with the project. Yeah,
and the question itself can be an implied critique in some cases, I suppose.
Exactly.
The very fact that someone has to ask. Did I introduce Lelena? Let's quickly introduce Lelena, because we ran through the others. Lelena has designed characters and backgrounds for TV's Blue's Clues and The Wonder Pets, and created graphics for the New York Times. And her educational press clients have included Oxford University Press, McGraw-Hill, and Benchmark. Her first picture book, Pursuit of the Magic Piece, was published in 2015, and she's represented in children's books by Laura Perkins at Andrea Brown Literary Agency. So, but that we'll just get that in. Okay, great, good. Critiques, though. Go ahead, Marcia.
We're at like the about 30-minute mark, 35-minute mark.
Yeah, we are. But I feel like I would like to hit one more thing before we go into the actual critique tonight, and that is, you're on good behavior when you're critiquing others in your group, your friends, and you're being sensitive. But what about, do you have a formula or a checklist for critiquing your own work in the privacy of your own studio without just crashing and throwing stuff against the wall? Can you apply some of these methods to individual personal critiques? And how do you critique yourself? It's a big topic.
Would you like to fill that in, Lelena?
Oh gosh, it's a tricky one. I'm trying to think of, it depends on what kind of project I'm working on. I mean, a lot of times, frankly, I'll go find someone to ask, whether it's my 10-year-old or my husband, or, sending an email to one of the Girllustrators. If I'm not sure about something, I'll ask.
Okay.
I've noticed that a lot of times, something that I want to do more, in fact, is I've noticed that Patty will put all of the spreads for her project up on the wall so she can see the big picture. And when I'm working on a picture book dummy, I've cleared off a wall so I can do that more, because that's something it's hard to see the big picture when you're working on it page by page. We get so absorbed in one particular spread or each composition, and seeing the big picture, I think, can help a lot.
Okay.
Cool.
Does it get confusing to have a storyline and suddenly you're critiquing you're doing editorial diagnostics as well as the draftsmanship issues? Can you mingle the two okay, or do you have to separate them to be for yourself?
I think it helps to mix them for me because more to the story can emerge as you draw it out, or really it works more in that way. If I start with a manuscript and I start drawing the images, more can emerge. And then I also might start with just the images, and then I actually never really write a manuscript if I've started that way, because it's already in the visual form, and that's the final product. So what's the point of typing it out on page? Unless I'm working out rhymes or something like that, I guess.
And they're so intertwined, the images, right, and the implied text or the actual text.
Right, and the page turns, you kind of have to feel to know whether it's working.
There was a question in the group on the questionnaire about page turns. We might have hit this last week, but let me pull it up, see if I can find it real fast. And if I can't, we'll just leave it. I'm scrolling through the questions in the page, the questions page, and I'm not seeing it now.
Now, Lelena, she's got, I don't want to talk about the details, but you have a picture book dummy. And I think it's really excellent. When you showed it at our last meeting, I thought it was really amazing. And it is rhyming, and there are really excellent page turns in it. So,
thanks. It's really fun to work on that one. Yeah. Because they say that you should, for each page turn, you want to create some suspense. And you want the reader to have to turn the page to find out. And my way of doing that was with rhymes.
But because they almost turn the page to see how the rhyme is going to go.
Yes.
You turn the page for the reward of the rhyme. How funny. How fun that is. Okay. Great. Liz Marie, how do you critique your own fine art pieces as well as your illustrations?
It's very difficult. I just feel it. Like, I like it.
You know when it's...
Or I hate it.
Well, so what do you tell yourself when you realize that you hate it? Where do you go from there?
I get very frustrated. Like, I don't want anything. Yeah, I get depressed, and then sometimes I completely change everything. Like, I start another illustration or leave it 1 week or then start again.
So I get the feeling from you that you accept it as part of the creative process. This is just what happens. It doesn't cause you to go, want to jump off a cliff or something like that. You just know that there's good times and bad times with it.
Yes.
It's nice at those moments to have I have to juggle projects because, like, for instance, I'm at a place where I'm frustrated with one project, and so I kind of feel like just giving up on it, but of course I'm not going to give up on it, but I need to take a break from it, like Liz Marie said. So in order to stay productive, I'm going to work on another project that I've been wanting to work on that maybe is more exciting because I haven't worked it and reworked it as much. And then I can go back.
Now, what I find really interesting is that Elena and Liz Marie, you're talking about self-critique, but through perspective either time, or you had also talked about gaining perspective by putting things on a wall and stepping back from it to see the big picture. And so both ways, through time or through distance, you're able to see things in a very different way, and that is an excellent way to self-critique.
That's right.
It's a reset.
Yeah, I think letting a project sit, anytime I'm stuck, and I'm very self-critical, so I will hate a project one night and I will put it away and then come back to it days later or a week later, and seeing it with fresh eyes when you've given it that time to rest and and you've stepped away from it, you know, I can appreciate certain aspects of the illustration that maybe I was frustrated with before. But I think when you're so focused on a single project, you could get tunnel vision and just see all the mistakes, and then
Right.
stepping away from it for a little while and coming back to it with fresh eyes is always helpful.
And you can see how, like, what things you need to change.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because when you get that tunnel vision, you've become so invested in your original vision, and as it comes out of you, it can change, and it kind of creates itself to a certain extent, and you discover things about it, and then that stepping away allows you to kind of divorce yourself from your original intention, and then pressing that reset button where you can come back and let it be what it's becoming rather than what maybe you started out intending.
That is so well put. Yes.
Yeah,
all
it
that.
is. That's great. Go ahead, Marcia.
You know what's amazing is that writers do this exact same thing. This is exactly what writers do. Mm-hmm. So if you ever feel like, oh, well, I don't understand anything about writing, yes, you do. This is the whole procprocess. There's so many writers that will literally, that they say, I put a project away for like a year. You know, I don't have, like, they're not divorced from it. Like what you're talking about, Lelena, they're too close to it. They can't see it. They can't see the problems.
Great. This is a consensus across the board here. It's real interesting tonight. This is really helpful that you guys all feel like taking a break, stepping away is a real good RX for self-critique, the self-critique blues, or the self-critique paralysis. So that's a good RX. Easy to do too.
Yeah.
Good. I didn't find the page turn question, but let's turn to any questions from you guys on the watch page, and then let's make sure if you've got a question for the Girllustrators specifically on these topics, type them in, and otherwise we will, because Marcia's keeping us so honest about the time, we'll turn to the critique. Marcia, I'll stop talking and put you up here. I'm going to post the folder link one more time for the group. Hey guys, also I appreciated you all took Lelena's prompt real seriously and her deadline seriously, and everybody turned in their work pretty much on Lelena's deadline from the prompt. And so I've never seen so much work turned in early before in all the years I've been doing this. So Lelena must have been she must have put the fear of God in them with her somehow. I've never seen such responsiveness. So, and congratulations to all of you guys for getting the work in and, you know, doing such nice pieces, but getting the work in. So let me post the link page, and so if you want to, otherwise it'll be on the video here. And again, remember, you can blow up your YouTube player to full screen to really see the art. That helps. And bringing it up to HD on the settings helps too. So those things will make it easier for you to see the art. And
so Mark, do you want me to do what I did last time, which was show it on my screen?
Share the screen. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I can totally do that.
Okay, so Marcia will share the screen, and we'll watch her screen. And and the pieces we don't get to tonight, we will be looking at them, you know, during the course of the series. But the Girllustrators have picked some specific pieces to talk about to help with this lesson of relationship and critique.
Is this big enough for y'all?
Let's take a look. Oops, excuse me. How is the image, guys? Can you see it? Type a Y in if you can see the image comfortably on the screen.
It's you.
Make it a little bit bigger here.
I think we're good unless I hear other. Let me see. Here comes some comments. Yeah, they can see it. Okay. Okay. Great. And I just posted the link, I think, to the Drive folder if it's not big enough. Okay. Take it away, Marcia.
Okay. So this is the first piece is Christine mix, and the title is Fairy Pup. And I picked this piece out. Like all these pieces have been picked by all of us Girllustrators, and so this is a piece that I picked out. And the reason why I picked this piece out is because I really enjoyed how the fairy was looking at the puppy like almost like a little perturbed with that sweet puppy. And it made me wonder about their relationship. There's definitely narrative there. Like, is the fairy upset about the puppy interrupting her playing on the fiddle? But the puppy is so sweet, and so I could imagine that the storyline would then, go from this conflict to a resolution where the two characters would then become friends. And I also really loved the lighting that is in this piece. I thought that the way that Christine has painted the light, she's really good at painting light. Everything seems very luminescent, which I love. And I think that there's this like a lot of whimsy in this. The one thing that I think would help is actually I don't know. I'm having a hard time like thinking about like how this could be changed in any way to make it even more impactful. I just really love their relationship so much. What do y'all think?
It is super sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And I also was I was taken in by that expression on the fairy's face and wondering what exactly just happened that made that fairy so irritated, or else she's sort of like fussing at the puppy. And I want to know more. So that's really lovely. I mean, I can see that relationship for sure. And you're right about all the lighting. It feels magical.
Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that struck me was the light in the piece, and of course the fairy's expression. I think that's just super cute. And I'm a little partial to this dog because it kind of reminds me of my dog. My dog's not as pleasant looking. she's a little feisty, but this dog is super sweet. But the lighting in this piece is really gorgeous.
Do we have any critique on this?
Both characters have a lot of personality. I love that. Especially, I mean, like the dog is a puppy and he's very curious and yeah, maybe young and naive, but I don't know. The only thing I would change is those plants, the top of the wings of the fairy, or are they plants?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's.
I would move it like to the left, or because it gets a little confused with the wings.
I can agree with the plants are distracting, and it's only because that's the only grouping of them. They're reading like to me like dandelions, and I'm wondering if either there were more of them, or like you had suggested, they were moved over to like, would you say like the left-hand side of the picture frame, Rosemary?
Yeah, and put more in the bottom of the, because they are very alone, lonely over there. I don't know.
I would ask whether they're necessary to have in there. Mm-hmm. And if it's just to add some interest, maybe the foreground would make the most sense. Maybe overlapping the puppy and the rock a little bit, but I don't think they're needed. I wanted to add too that I love the strokes, the marks in that foreground grass that's there. the greens and blues and everything
It's
are
almost
really vibrant.
right. It's almost like the impasto and the mark making is almost like Chagall like.
It is. Another question that I would ask is about the importance of that house in the background, because if the artist is trying to show setting, then it seems like more buildings would be necessary if that's sort of like a town in the background. Because with just the one house, it suggests that that house is important to the story. Like maybe it's the puppy's house, but it's not clear how it relates to them, to the two characters in this particular image. And then go ahead.
Christine was asking if we think the stars are okay, or are they too big?
Oh,
I don't have a problem with the stars. I personally don't. I don't know what y'all think.
Me neither. I like them.
yeah, I think they're kind of cool looking like that.
And it looks like there's a little bit of the dots like around the fairy's head and wings, and then going over to the puppy.
Oh
It's like magical fairy dust too, and so
Yeah.
I really like that.
yeah.
that's nice. I didn't notice that till you pointed it out.
The single house in the background kind of reminds me of Howl's Moving Castle, Hayao Miyazaki's film, when Howl creates a separate space for Sophie, and it's this house off in a field by itself. So I'm kind of drawn to that.
I'm kind of drawn to it too. It's almost like the mark making makes me think of La Petite Prince.
Yeah.
And it's like the loneliness of it. This is a beautiful piece, and think about the necessariness of these flowers, or if you wanted to, I think that maybe if you wanted to pour in, but beautiful piece. Thank you so much, Christine. And we are going to move on to the next one. This is, can you tell me her name? Is this Becky? What is Becky?
It's just, we can just call it Becky.
Okay, Becky. So this
Yeah.
is Becky's piece titled Bunnies. And Luce Marie, I think you picked this piece to be critiqued. Would you like to start off the critique?
Well, I like it very much. I love the bunnies, the expression of the of that cute bunny in the left. I love the colors and I love it. I like everything. It's the bunnies, but well, the one in the right, it's like the relation. I love the relationship with the boy. Like it seems like they are friends, and to me, it looks like the boy visits very often those bunnies, and like they almost are talking. Yeah.
I agree with you. This piece is really beautiful. I'm especially drawn to the color. The color palette is very pleasing, and it is a limited color palette. If you actually look at the leaves in the tree, there is like a Parisian blue. And then there's that kind of reddish coppery color, and then that golden color. If you look throughout, and then there's a green in there. It's like if you look throughout the piece, this like the illustrator Becky didn't really diverge much from that color palette, except for like the red stripes in this little boy's shirt. And I especially appreciate the color palette and the limited use of it.
It's really beautiful watercolor work and line work. It's just lovely. Those leaves up in the corner are kind of translucent there, almost looking stamped. I just love that effect, and it's really gorgeous work on the wood of the bunny hutch, and how you achieve that chicken wire.
I know that's
overlapping of it. Wow.
And the wood.
Yeah.
Right.
Texture. It's very good.
Yeah. It's subtle.
And I do love how the stripes on the tie and the pop of the blue color on the boy's shirt really make him stand out as, distinct from the bunnies and their hutch and their environment. He's made special by those color choices.
Now, I'm going to give a constructive critique portion of this. I'm wondering if this would be an even more successful illustration if it were from a different angle, where you really saw the little boy's gaze from a side view. Because right now, the bunny, I can tell, is looking up at the little boy, and the little boy's gaze doesn't quite meet the bunny, like his head should be turned further down. But the bunny's, the anatomy for the bunny that's looking up, I actually don't think is quite right. Those eyes should be further apart and not as close. And the little boy's hand, it's hard to tell that his hand extended, holding some feed for that little bunny that's his friend. And I think that, like the anatomical issues with the bunny's head and the bunny's eyes, as well as the little boy's gaze, would be all fixed if this were a side view. And so I'm wondering if in this story, maybe this could be one view and then the next scene would be the side view, where you really see how intimate the relationship that the little boy and the bunny has. And then you'd be able to see even closer up image of the bunny's fur and how soft that is. And I don't know how you all feel about that. What do you think?
I agree with you, Marcia, in the sense, like, when I first looked at this piece, the hand, I had to really study where the hand meets the bunny. It took me a little bit to read that correctly. So, maybe, even if you kind of, you can even kind of shift the bunny's position a little bit. Maybe you don't have to turn the whole piece sideways. Just kind of give maybe the boys looking, slightly at 3/4 angle, or the bunny looking up towards them might emphasize that relationship even further.
And there's another bunny eating, and I haven't seen.
Yeah, right in front of. So there's two bunnies. There's a bunny who's like on its haunches, and then there's a bunny in front of that bunny and the little boy that's eating right out of the dish.
That's a little confusing. Too many things happening in the same. I guess.
So you feel like if it were a more minimal composition, just where the boy and the bunny are, it would help with readability, Miss Marie?
Yes. Yes, or another angle, as we said.
Yes, I agree with all of that. It might be interesting and helpful to even just quickly sketch out, experiment with some different angles. The choice was made to have the bunny hutch in between us and the boy, which to me feels a little bit claustrophobic, or like there's something kind of standing in the way of us appreciating their relationship. And it could be an interesting thing to have the hutch or the chicken wire between us and the boy if we were sort of inside the hutch with the bunny looking through the chicken wire at the boy, as one possibility. But also another possibility could be sort of with the boy looking through the chicken wire at the bunny. But certainly any of those angles would allow the opportunity to show more what the bunny is feeling or the bunny's side of the relationship.
I love that. Yeah, I totally agree. And I didn't even think about how we're behind chicken wire viewing the characters and how that really does affect the way that we view our relationship with them. So these are all really great points. And I just want to say that I think that this is such a masterfully painted piece that, and also the little boy's character, the characterizations that you have of the bunnies and the boy. This is an incredibly appealing piece. And so if Becky were to take these characters and continue on with a story based on this, I think that it would be really successful visually and story-wise.
I agree. It's beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that,
Mm-hmm.
Becky.
Thank you. So next piece. This is Jamie, and just the title is Relationship. And Luce Marie, you picked this sweet image out. Would you like to start off, critique?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, it's a mom feeding the babies. That's. I love the background, the texture. Well, I love texture in general, so that's why it's very. Like I like the simplicity of that and the contrast between the blue and the orange. And I love the expression of the little birds.
Your discussion.
Feed me. With the reminds me of my girls fighting for something that they want. So because it's only one warm, everybody wants. So it's a typically fiddling situation. And she did very good at that, telling us that about family. And
I love the collage technique that she's using. I think it's really cool. Like, because the texture in the background is really nice, and then like it allows you to really experiment with different colors and mark making without worrying about like interfering with your subject matter and setting. I think that's really, really cool, and I would love to see some variation in the browns and the yellows that were used. Just because, like, some of the branches and then the nesting material, without that black outline, it would be hard to tell the difference between the branches and the nest stuff. And in certain areas, she's put in there like this really nice gray, this almost bluish gray. It looks like a paint spray possibly. And that is really successful, like doing some of that color mixing. It's beautiful. And I almost wish that the rest of the nest, and it's in this lower left-hand corner, I think that's so successful. I wish that more of the nests were like this, and the color in the chicks were just slightly was like a slightly less saturated version of that yellow. It'd be beautiful. Like these colors right here are just so striking and lovely. Um, and the mark making that's happening here, I think, is really successful in relationship to the textured background. What do you all think?
I really love the dimensional quality to this piece. I'm assuming just from looking at it, there's a slight shadow between the foreground images and the background. So did you do them separately and then cut out the birdie nest and bird? Because you can see that dimension, and I really like that. I'm a sucker for collage because I do that.
You're a master at collage.
Oh, thank you. But I do the same thing. I cut out my foreground images separately, and then I play with them like paper dolls. But I like that little shadow that the separate images create between the foreground and the background. I think that adds just a neat little dimensional texture to the piece. And I love the use of the complementary colors. Your characters really stand out from that background. I agree with Marcia. I think that those hints of blue within the nest are really beautiful, and adding more of that into the rest of the nest, into some of your tree, would make it stand out more. It would give the nest and the tree a little more dimension. But yeah, I love the idea of all, like Luz Marie said, of all the kids fighting over the one worm. Just to remind you of children, my kids at least. But yeah, this is lovely.
So, if anybody else has anything to add, there's something that I wanted to suggest to your listeners. Does anybody else have anything to add to Jamie's piece?
Yes, I was going to say that I love the vibrant color. It's just so electric and really compelling, and it's so different from most other things that we see. I love how handmade it feels, and that's really special. The collage in the background is a wonderful contrast with the line work in the foreground, which is really nicely done. And the characters are really sweet. And that worm is just in the perfect spot. Compositionally, I love how the branches are coming in from the top left and the bottom and converging in the nest. And then there's that pop of the worm almost in the middle, but kind of like in the perfect spot off center. And then the branches go off to the right with the rest of the mama bird. It's really nice. So some of the suggestions that I would make are the background is very dark, and the lighting on the birds doesn't suggest nighttime. So I would maybe make those agree a little bit more. It looks like you might be able to lift the foreground off of there so that you can experiment some more with the background. I would suggest trying with a lighter color sky, either that or decide that it's nighttime and infuse some shadows in the front of the birds in the nest. And then it looks, the collage work, the content of that looks somewhat arbitrary, I think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I noticed that on the left there's music notation, and that's just so perfect for birds that I wonder that if you play with the background a little bit more with the color, you might use more intentionality with what you use for the content of that collage paper. And then the second main thing that I would ask is whether you might be able to make the relationship between the mama and the babies, or even one particular one of the baby birds, more specific. To me, this looks like it could be any number of mama birds with the baby birds in the nest. And to make it a story, you would have to come up with something that's different about this relationship. So maybe there's one particular baby bird that's, behaving differently than the others, and you could have the mama bird reacting to that. Those are my thoughts, but really great work.
You had such a great critique there, Lelena. I agree with all that. That is so on point. And the one thing that I was going to make a suggestion about was there's one thing that I've always found really helpful before I go to paint. I'll actually do a color mock-up if I possibly can, or I'll go to there's this really cool site that you can look up movie color palettes, and you can grab a color palette from a movie color palette, or whatever, or you can do a color mock-up just to see how these colors interact with one another. And then you don't have to go into paint and then suddenly go, oh my goodness, this is not exactly what I wanted. It's a little bit more planned out, which is, sometimes can really take the spontaneity away from the art piece. So it's definitely a choice that not everybody makes, and that's okay. But I found it really helpful. I am going to move on to the next piece. This is
Laura Rackham.
Laura Rackham.
She's a Texan.
Oh, I can tell. It's been 100 and plus degrees for a week straight.
Yeah.
So this really speaks to all of us here. Would anybody like to start off on Laura's piece?
I will. I think this piece is super sweet. I love the expression on the kid's face and the dog. He's kind of got this lazed expression, which is great. The piece definitely tells a story that's very relatable to us Texans. So, and this the texture in the paper, it adds a nice dimension and depth to the piece, and the loose line work. It makes it. It's got this great quality to it where it doesn't feel static. It's got movement to it, and so I think that's very successful.
You can almost see the egg sizzling, can't you?
Oh yes.
Feel it. Yeah, feel the kinetic energy.
Yeah, and the shells of the eggs, I think, are just beautiful.
Yeah.
The color, the shadows, it's got this great sketchy quality to it. This movement in the piece. Yeah, I think that kid is just super sweet.
And makes you wonder what is going on.
Yeah. Is he doing a science experiment, or is he hungry and wanted some fried eggs?
I agree with you. The texture of this piece and the characterization is incredibly appealing, and it almost. I don't know, but I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna venture to guess that this is definitely watercolor, but I'm kind of wondering if she's working in there some pastel, some chalk pastel, to get some of the softness in here. And the one thing that I will give a critique on is I love the blue back here. I wish that it was just a slightly lighter blue. That's just me. But it's so beautifully painted that I can't help but absolutely love how like I think that this is a cobalt, and cobalt tends to break in this way and have real granular quality to it. It's really beautiful.
Marcia Laura says it is I just lost it. It is watercolor, pastel, and some digital finish. So you were right about the pastel.
It's really beautiful. But yeah, I would almost say like keep your background just a smidge lighter, so I can really focus on the characters. But that's just me, and that's my taste, and I can be totally wrong because I'm a human being. But this is so beautifully painted and chalk pastel. It's really lovely. What else do y'all think?
I love the lines.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. I'm wondering the relationship between the dog and the boy, because I love the expression of the dog, but I think it would work better if he would be looking to the boy or to the egg.
Yes, the gaze isn't quite. The gaze is a little bit off to the left. It seems like the dog's gaze.
He's like, yeah, he's not. I think that's a little thing. Like, you change a little bit the eyes, because I can't feel the relationship in this scene.
The lines really are gorgeous in this.
Mm-hmm.
The egg and that line in the sidewalk and the shells, really, really nice. Mm-hmm. And the colors are so vibrant. I agree with that, the gaze issue with the dog, and then it seems like their relationship to each other isn't quite isn't as specific as it could be. Maybe the dog could be reacting in a different way from the boy to the heat or the egg. Maybe the dog would be trying to lap up the egg or something, and the boy would be wanting to wait and see how long it takes to fry, something like that. And then the other more technical issue that I would point out is that the perspective in the foreground doesn't continue behind the characters. It seems like we see the sidewalk, at an angle, and then we would see more of the grass and maybe a little bit more of their bodies there if that perspective were to continue. Does that make sense?
I totally see what you mean. Because right now, the way that they're drawn, it's almost like they're below the sidewalk.
Yes.
I'm going to point out, I think that this is the coolest mark making I've seen in a really long time. It's incredibly loose. It looks almost like she has a pencil that has been broken, and so it makes a multiple mark when you do any kind of mark making. And like when y'all are saying it's like the looseness, but I totally like, and this is just, it's almost like there's a real confidence when you're making marks like that. I appreciate that a lot.
There's a lot of variation in the line as well. There's really thin lines, they're really thick, lush lines, and it's really, really delicious.
Yes.
Yeah, it has the effortless feeling about the line, which is so refreshing.
Beautiful work. I'm going to move on to the next piece unless anybody else has something to add. Okay. Is this an N for?
It's Natalie.
Natalie. Okay, Natalie Banker. And I actually picked this piece. I picked it because it is so unusual. It actually makes me think of possibly like an Inuit culture because of the aurora borealis, and how this character almost looks um, he or she comes from folklore, or really, I mean, like uh, religion from people like from the Inuit culture. Um, and so the relationship that I see here between this common creature and then this little character that is so unusual and almost like an otherworldly creature. These are both very otherworldly creatures. I think is very compelling. There's a sadness to this creature's eyes, and it's almost like he or she is singing, and the song is being sent off across, and this character is now coming up to meet this creature and maybe like bring him or her joy. But the color work is just so astoundingly beautiful. Like the blue, and then going into green, and then the yellow in here, and then the little mark making that is happening here, and then the little bits of color that you catch in this creature's fur, and then the lack of line work, like in these feet, and this color work here with the watercolor, and then the color work here, it's just really, really beautiful. And it's incredibly captivating. And so that's why I picked it. Very, very beautiful.
It's almost like the northern lights in the sky, which lends to your Inuit.
Yeah, the
And then
aurora borealis.
the little figure, at first I thought maybe it's true. It's like a snowshoes behind him, like he's carrying them on his back, snowshoes. But maybe I'm getting carried away. But
so what do y'all have anything to say about this piece?
I agree with you, Marsha. It's very beautiful, and I'm wondering, like, it makes you wonder a lot of things, like, because it's so magical that, like, this big creature is like blowing ice, because I guess that ice in the background. I don't know, and what the girl is doing there. So it's a lot of questions, and it's very engaged. I'm very engaged with it. Yeah, the colors are, and the balance with the green on the grass and the green on the ceiling makes a very good composition.
Yeah, I think the watercolor work in this is gorgeous. I love the treatment on the creature's fur. I think that's just amazing. And yeah, definitely you want to know more about this story. I want to see more spreads of these two characters.
Yeah.
Because they're very compelling.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the little detail around the smaller creature, the one walking up. There's this very minute little detail, like this magical aura coming off this creature, I guess. I kind of want to see more of that. Maybe if that character was just a little bigger.
Yeah.
And you see a little more of that character's expression, I think might really push the narrative between the two characters. And then maybe a little more definition in the swirls that are being or coming off the larger creature or the one in the foreground. Yeah, it can be interpreted many different ways, and maybe just a little more definition can give you a little more insight to the story between these two characters. Yeah, I love. I mean, I love. It's a beautiful piece.
I completely agree with what Vanessa just said about the background and the definition, this character's size. And I'm wondering if in like pieces that are to come from this illustrator, if she could really think about contrast, because I think that just contrast alone would really help with it. The aurora borealis happening here is really beautiful, but this area right here, that looks like kind of a violet color, and then these grays in here, especially since there is more heavy, like there's actual line work happening in here. If this were all like very, very light or like not even present, if it were like either very light wash of a, like a gray or a blue, or if it was just all white, this swirl work as well as this character, even if you didn't change the size, both would be much more clear. And I think that a lot of this would be fixed with just contrast alone.
I'm really loving the shapes in that character, that animal. The shape of the body and shape of the knees and the little feet and paws and the nose and the horns are just really well defined, and the texture in the fur is great. And then the texture in the hill as well, with the different colors of blue and green, and the little marks that make the blades of grass are really special. And it looks to me like what's going on, I mean, I'm not clear. I'm wondering if the artist was sort of experimenting with these characters and not quite sure yet what their relationship was. It seems like the foreground character is lonely and then maybe missing the other character, and the other character is finally finding its way back to this friend, or noticing this creature and realizing that it needs a friend. But I would like to see how this relationship develops. I also enjoy how abstracted and loose and ethereal the sky is behind the more well-defined characters in the foreground. That's something that seems really hard to achieve for me, and it's really nicely done. I might want more definition in the lower right. It's not clear, and I understand that it's abstracted, and I'm not saying it has to be super concrete, but I might like the hill looks a little bit like it's floating in the sky, and it could give some balance. I think it's kind of definition heavy, I think, on the left side, and on the right it gets a little bit vague, and it could use a little bit more, even just subtle definition of, I don't know what you would want, another background hill shape or two, something like that. But it's really gorgeous.
Does anybody else have something to add to Natalie's piece? I'm going to move on to Susan's piece. I chose this piece, and I chose it because I absolutely love these two characters, and having your daughter sleep on top of you is just the most delicious thing in the whole world. It really is so cozy and wonderful. and then the kitty cat there just makes me happy. So, I love, I just love it. It makes me very, very happy. I think that I'm gonna let somebody else talk because I feel like I talk too much.
No, you don't.
Anybody else like to add to this piece?
I really love how the characters break the boundary, the borders. I think that's very successful. I agree with you, Marcia, that these two characters are very compelling because it's very sweet and very relatable to the mother-child relationship. Yeah, it's really, really sweet.
These characters are specific people. I mean, this is not just general mother-child relationship. This is a specific mother who has a green hoodie and her daughter who has, this layers of shirt and the shirt sticking out of one side. And they don't look like, the child is not a miniature version of the mother. And I really like that. I mean, maybe they aren't mother and child, but it seems like they are. And I like that the automatic go-to isn't just that they look alike. I might continue the background a little bit on the lower portion. Maybe not all the way down, because it's kind of interesting how the leg goes off the bottom. But it looks like it could be continued down just a little bit more, just for balance.
I would change the color of the background.
Do brown for you?
Yeah, it's like the same color of the, like to pop it up more, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it helps to pop up the mother and the girl, but maybe a little like lighter color, the same color but lighter.
Yeah, it seems like so the background is too similar to the couch for you. I can see that. It might help to frame the piece too, to have the background, the non-couch background, be a slightly different shade. Maybe even with a little bit of green to balance out. I mean, not super vibrant, not to where it comes to the foreground too much, but a little hint of green to kind of, I don't know, because of the green and the mom's hoodie, it'll give the whole thing maybe a little bit of a hug.
And it doesn't have to be the whole background. It could be just the one side or another of the painting.
I have to say, I think the cat needs a little bit more definition. When I first looked at this piece, I had a hard time reading that. I eventually got there, but yeah, just maybe a little more shadows to further define the cat. But I love the plaid treatment on the sofa. It makes it feel like a vintage 70s sofa, like what you would see. And it reminds me of my grandma's sofa. So I love that treatment, but I do love how, like Lelena said, the characters are specific. They are particular people. They have personality, and you can see that not only in their expressions, but in their clothing and their body language. And I think that's working really well.
I love the pillows.
Yeah, those are nice pillows.
Yeah.
The watercolor work in those pillows are amazing.
Yeah.
Laura says the sofa is 1979. I had one just like it.
That is amazing. I love it.
And then Diane says, "Oh, the cat fell asleep too." Yes, I agree. It says life is good. So there are a lot of great comments in the chat, guys. Thank you. And I'll send out the transcripts to everybody, including our Girllustrator instructor panel, so they can read all the fun things that are going on behind the scenes.
One quick thing. So Susan, I would definitely check out, and I'm totally going to massacre this artist's name. Help me, Lelena, because you're really up on it. Jean-Michel Basquiat. Please help me, because I
No, that's right.
Basquiat, the New York sensation. Yeah.
It's a New York sensation. So there's that new picture book that was out a couple years ago, and it won the Caldecott. And the mark making that I see here is very reminiscent of it, and also the specificness, the specificity of these characters is so reminiscent of that. And if she's not read that specific nonfiction picture book about Jean-Michel Basquiat,
It's called Radiant Child. Radiant Child by Steptoe. Let's see. Let me get the author's full name. I just pulled it up. By Javaka Steptoe, and
it's beautiful. It's such
a
it
is,
book, and it'll make you cry. It is very, very good. But the work that I'm seeing here and the mark making specificity it's reminiscent of it.
Mm-hmm. It's a good analogy.
Beautiful work. And also great comments by the illustrators. All right, next one up. This is. Can you help me with this illustrator's name?
It's Doug Sanko.
Doug Sanko.
Yeah.
And Patty, who is not here tonight, because she's got a pressing deadline on an amazing book that she's got coming out soon. She picked this piece, and I can definitely see why she picked it. It's really, really sweet. Oh my goodness, look at all these sweet birdies. Would somebody like to speak about this?
It reminds me of Cinderella. It reminds me of all this. No, I lost the image because I was going to look up that book on Jean-Michel Basquiat. But it reminds me of the relationship between, in the Disney version of Cinderella with all the birds, helping her out. And this is a very definite relationship between the hippo and all those sweet birds who, there's a whole story that happened up to this point of where is it a hippo? Again, I lost the image. Okay, yes, I have it back again. What this hippo was wanting so badly to do. Was it just to fly, or are they taking her somewhere and they got together and they did it? And besides it just being beautifully execued.
But he looks sad, the hippo, and I wonder
maybe a little concerned.
I'm having a good time though.
You better be careful what you wish for, hippo.
Those birds are all different characters too, and they're all doing different things. I'm really struck by the one on the tail. He seems to be he's like the rudder.
I know, it's so great that each of those birds has a different personality.
Yes, a different task.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the stylization that has been done for the birds is so appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And I love the sky, that the fact that it's pink, blue, purple, like beautiful colors. And beautiful contrast with the bluebirds.
It's a very nice palette.
I wish that the bird in the front would be looking at the hippo.
Be looking at the people?
At the hippo.
Looking back at the hippo.
Yeah.
What if the one on the nose was looking at the hippo? Oh my gosh. Yeah. The one thing that I would love is what somebody had just said that the hippo seems really sad, and I'm like, I actually I read slightly sad, but it doesn't seem like really sad. Oh, my daughter is just speaking of sad. And I'm wondering if like the emotion in the hippo could be a little bit more played up, whether the hippo is sad or if the hippo is whatever the hippo is feeling, if it was a little bit more clear and more played up. I would like to see that. Because it seems almost like the hippo is slightly sad, but it's almost like a non-emotion.
It's in between, isn't it?
Yeah.
The body language of the hippo seems. Oh, sorry. Well, I was just looking. I guess I was looking more at the body language of the hippo than the facial expression. I see why y'all are saying sad, but the whole gesture of the hippo seems into it.
Yeah.
To me, like maybe the hippo is just sort of, focusing.
That's what I was going to say.
Folks concentrating on flying.
Because his feet suggest that he is trying to fly like Superman, and his facial expression looks a little sad or a little concerned. So either play up the expression, making him look determined or ecstatic that he's flying to coincide with the feet, or if he is concerned, you can really play that up in the feet, like, or if he's sad, his feet should be drooping down.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, the mix of the facial expression and the determination of the gesture is maybe what makes me think that the hippo. It's not just that the hippo wanted to fly. Like this is still the hippo hasn't reached its goal yet.
Yeah.
I think that the hippo needs to get somewhere. That's what I'm reading in it.
And so there'd have to be more story, like, oh, the hippo is really needing to go do this thing, and so the hippo's not yet content, like fully content.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of worried.
Yeah, he looks worried. Or yeah, in suspense.
Literally suspended.
Suspended.
Yes.
I love the belly. I love the
the little lumps.
tension.
It's great detail.
Yeah, it has weight.
Doug, you're a really excellent drafts person. Mm-hmm. And the color.
Yeah, I think Doug works commercially. He's
beautiful. Does anybody else have something to add to Doug's piece? Move on.
Well, I don't feel strongly about this, but just feeling the need to, make a suggestion or something. It might also help the story and with the clarity of the intention of the hippo to have a version where, again, the perspective is a little different. Like maybe we're rotated a little bit behind the hippo, just, not even 3/4 to where we can see a little bit of the scenery below. To get an idea that the hippo is going somewhere and is on a mission and not quite there yet, and looking ahead at where she is going.
I love that. No, that's a great suggestion. And then you could have a real idea of like how high up this hippo is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you'd see the scenery below. That's great. Great suggestion, Elena. Okay. Goldberg. And I think I picked this piece, and I picked it because who has not had to comfort their child? And I thought I loved watercolor, and I thought this watercolor is really beautiful, and the darks in their hair that were being achieved, and the modeling while still being loose, and everything was just so sweet, and then the sweet expression on the child's face, but the comforting, reassuring, like both body gesture like body language and the face of the mother was just who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to be like this mama, right? This is like great mama right there. Would anyone like to speak about this piece?
I love the tears.
Those are some big tears.
Crocodile tears.
Oh.
And the hands are very good.
They are.
Yeah.
I love the colors as well. Yes.
What I noticed is that the emotion, the character development and the emotion on both faces is fully developed, so they are both fully realized as people, and their emotions are fully realized the way she's depicted them. She took care with both faces. One's not stronger than the other in terms of we know what they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I can hear her voice. And the child's voice as well. Yeah, the shapes are just so well defined and modeled. And the colors are lovely. I might ask for some suggestion of a setting just to fill out the story a bit. But the relationship, that's solid.
I agree, Lelena. I love the shapes of these characters, and their expressions are so great. Like that mama, she's got such a look, just a comforting look in her eyes, and the colors are gorgeous. But yeah, I agree that maybe a slight suggestion of a setting. This is really beautiful.
That earring must have been tricky.
Yeah, I was noticing the earring.
But what's amazing is that like Lisa can both do like these, big swaths of color.
Yes.
Very intricate details. Like the eyes and the mouth. This mouth is so intricate, and that earring is so intricate. And this little frown, little eyebrows for detail in there. It's very, very good at what she's doing. I totally agree with our third Lelena that if this were in a background, if this were set somewhere, it would make this, like time. It would be +10. Does anybody else have something to add to Lisa's piece?
Laura says the palette is such perfect harmony, and then she asks if this is watercolor, and we think it is watercolor. Maybe if Lisa's here, she could fill her in, but
yeah, just the way that these washes are on the like these watercolor washes.
Very, very controlled.
All right, beautiful piece, Lisa. Keep doing what you're doing because this is gorgeous. Mama Puffin and Tiny Puffin. I picked this piece because I love a sequence, and this is a great sequence, right? Would anyone like to talk about this piece?
This is Linda's piece.
Linda.
That's funny.
It is really funny.
I love the expression on the baby puffin at the very last scene with the mom. Cradling the puffin, and the puffin looks. He's got this wild look in his eyes, and so great. This whole piece, I do love a sequence, and this tells such a fun little story. The mama rushing to feed the gaping mouth. But the characterization of the baby puffin is so great.
And it's all for pencil, right? It looks like.
Yeah, it does look like.
It's very good.
I like that she's working on a substrate that is not white.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice. It's just like kind of craft paper brown. There are little things in here that I think that would be quick fixes, like this white edge on the cracked egg doesn't need to be there. It's actually a little bit confusing because a cracked eggshell doesn't really catch the light like that on the edge, and so I would extend the shadow all the way to that edge, and then maybe add some little bitty cracks, hairline cracks on this portion of the egg. And because this looks slightly confusing, like it's almost like a dented in egg, not a cracked egg. And then right here with the wing over the baby puffin, if it was solid black instead of the slight grayed white area here, it would be much more clear that this was the wing of the mama puffin over the baby. Just little things like that, making this more solid. But I absolutely love this, and the artist hand with doing the line work is great. Like this alone is just wonderful because you see the urgency in the mama bringing her chick some fish. Does anybody else have something to add to Laura's piece? Is that correct?
Linda's piece, yeah.
Linda, I'm sorry. Thank you, Linda. I apologize.
Let's see.
It has great rhythm. It has wonderful rhythm from each step in the sequence, and sound as well. This is another one where I can hear that baby bird squawking urgently.
Yeah.
And
Oh no.
yeah, and the racing up of the mother, just the pacing and rhythm is wonderful. I agree that the baby blends in a bit with the mom on the very last image. And also, I think it's wonderfully successful how the inside of the baby's mouth relates directly to the edge of the mama's beak.
Yeah.
Like the hunger and then the delivery of the food are related to each other. And it might help the baby pop and be separated from the mama on that last spot if there was a little hint still of that orange in the baby's mouth, whether the baby's smiling or there's just a really thin line of a grin using that orange, just to retain that connection and also make the baby more visible. Who is that?
That's my little baby.
Is that a baby bird?
Baby puffin. I just wanted to add maybe with the sequencing, on the top row where you see the hatched egg and the puffin, where the maybe bring those a little closer together.
Sure.
So we can so it would read as one separate scene. I feel like these are spaced out so evenly. Up at the top, it could add a little more interest if you put those two, the egg and the puffin, closer together in the middle.
I agree.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
So the sequencing could read a little clearer, I guess.
I love that she put all the nest is under all the baby puffin and everything, but when the mama is running, it has a shadow, so that makes a very good like integrates all the scene in the sequence.
They're all great comments, ladies. Does anybody else have something to add to this piece?
I wonder if the baby puffin, maybe it would, I was just looking at different ways the baby puffin could have more color. I'm not sure about this, but it crossed my mind to have a little bit of the yellow in the baby bird's feet from the mama's feet.
Oh yeah.
What's hard is that I do agree with that, but I'm also like I think that have very specific color when they're born to keep them camouflaged. And this person, I'm so sorry, my memory is really terrible. Linda.
Yeah, Linda. Linda Grant.
So Linda may have researched this pretty well, and she knows the like the puffin's color palette. And peripherally, I watch a lot of puffin rock, and I know that there are specific things that puffin chicklings, like their color palette is very, very drab.
They don't have the orange.
Yeah, they just don't. And so while I do agree, it would really help the baby pop. It just may not be like accurate, and that's kind of like, this is such an accurate piece. That may not be such a great idea. Maybe like having the feet, the outline of the feet, like the silhouette of the feet, may I say, be much more defined. Like this, the line work that has been done with the pencil is very soft. And so if it weren't so soft, if it were more defined from the background, that would also help make it pop too. What do you think, Elena? I'm so sorry for like.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I mean, I wasn't sure about the yellow. You know, it might be too much. I kind of like the monotone of the baby bird, so yeah, I was kind of ambivalent about that suggestion anyway. So you're probably right.
But just a value change behind the baby bird, and just darkening around her from the mother's. I mean, somebody's already mentioned this, but would help without giving away extra color that shouldn't really be there.
The eggs texture are very good.
Say it again. I missed hearing that.
Textures of the egg.
Textures. Yes. Diane has an interesting comment. She's saying curious minds will ask questions of how things work, and nature studies like this stimulate general learning, which is a terrific driving purpose for children's nature books. Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's why they're so important.
So I'm going to move on to the next piece. This is Virginia's piece.
Yay, Virginia!
And I think this may be the last piece of the night. Yeah. There's no more little button here. I picked this piece too, and I picked it because holy moly, everything's so well painted. It kind of like it's so beautiful. Like this fencing in here. I'm gonna guess that these are sheep, because they're just not large enough for cows, and they don't have horns for goats. And so these look like sheep. And then the sweet little girl, and her feeding these apples. I love it, and the color work in here is really beautiful. I grew up. My father, he raised goats all my life, and he just recently moved over to chicken. But he had a whole herd of goats, and so this really spoke to me. Would anyone like to start talking about their opinion, their critique on this piece from Virginia?
Well, I'm struck by the great proportion of the little girl, the toddler, who, you know, give her dark hair and she could be Maple at some point. Couldn't
Yeah.
She reminds me of Maple, her body shape. But anyway, I think Virginia really got proportions right on this child, and it really pays off when you get the correct proportions for the right age groups of kiddos. Then you can really dare to draw somebody this young, you know,
Yeah, I
without it
completely
being weird.
agree with this. Like, it doesn't look like a tiny adult here.
Right.
Clearly a toddler. And then those little boots. Maple actually had boots just like that.
Yeah, that's
That color, chartreuse, olive drab chartreuse.
yeah, that reminded me of Maple too. with the yellow boots. But I love how this little girl is shoving the apple because that's just like a little kid. They don't do anything gently. They just, I mean, she's gonna force that apple through the fence and is this Virginia? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Virginia.
Okay, Virginia. Yeah, she really, really captured so much expression in just that gesture.
Yeah.
I think that's so wonderful.
And even
I love the fence too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a tore up fence.
Uh-huh. But yeah, the fence has so much personality.
And you know about farms, too, Vanessa.
Uh-huh.
You know, you come from like family that farms and raises animals and animal husbandry, and like this is you know that fence, and it gets all bent up,
Uh-huh.
and it reads so true.
It does. And then all the animals gathering around. It's like the baby birds and the one worm.
Yeah.
Waiting for that apple. But yeah, this is very, very relatable to my childhood. So.
I love that crinkly fence too, and the toddler is wonderfully wobbly. And my favorite thing about this is that their perspectives on this relationship are very different. So the sheep, they don't care who's feeding them. They just want the dang apples.
And they look like
But
that, don't they?
I mean, she is just like, this is super special for her. And she's feeding somebody when usually everybody's feeding her. Oh. And she is determined she's going to get every single one of those apples in the basket into those sheep. And she's going to stand there until it's done.
Becky's leaving a comment. She's saying, yeah, eat it, goat.
Now I'm gonna back this up because I remember Lelena saying this really great comment about the bird piece a while back, and I'm gonna pull that comment back out again because I almost wish that this little girl was just relating with like maybe one or two sheep instead of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there are 5 sheep here. It would make it a little bit more special. I don't know how y'all feel about that.
I think that the one on the left is like with the open mouth. That's the one, but all of them are very close to her. So maybe I don't know if it's the same with the bunnies. They are overlapping. Too many.
I think it could work either way, you know, but it is a good point that when you're feeding animals on the farm, they all come up, and that's very true to life. But on the other hand, if it was just the 2 figures, that would be a nice diagonal, and it would be a real nice silhouette of the 2 of them. Just the outline shape would be, and it would make a strong composition. I think you could win either way.
Yeah,
I mean, it would just be different.
Yeah, it would be different, and it would be kind of iconic somehow.
Mm-hmm. Like this one, she has a relationship, but it's a relationship with like these animals in general. Whereas if it were her and then 1 or 2 other sheep, it would be a much more like like it would just be between those two.
Isolated between the two.
Yeah, they'd be more isolated.
A relationship with a capital R.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, on the little girl side anyway, because of building on the comment about how the animals just want to eat.
Yeah, well, I think maybe Marsha's going for a relationship where the sheep might have more strong feelings toward the girl.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. It would be a relationship then that we're isolating and looking at.
Virginia says in the comments, the little girl's trying to give the sheep the apple, but he's misjudged the opening, and instead has his mouth coming out and going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good.
So, what Martha, what you're saying about just isolating these two characters, I think the humor in that, just having those two characters by themselves, I think the humor would be more, or it would come through more in that piece.
Yeah, because it's a little bit hard to read that because
it is.
1, 2, 3, 3 sheep behind this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would definitely make those two stand out and that gesture stand out.
But yeah, now I see it, and I just love how this fence is so clearly like this happens all the time. Yeah, that's great.
Well, and going along with that, I was going to make the comment too that one sheep is too close to the ground. Like it seems like it doesn't have legs or something. So that could be clarified as well.
Like maybe if the legs were actually bent right here.
Yeah.
Like you could see the little kneecaps at this point.
That's a good point. And the one sheep, or it could be a dog over here under her arm, and he's sort of cut off, and it could be that there's a structure there, like a shed that's blocking him, but his body just sort of disappears behind the girl.
Yeah. There's a lot that is not clear, because like this is definitely, that's got to be a shed or like a fencing, some kind of like opaque structure here.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time. I love these little red tongues. All red that Virginia painted in this little girl sweater. Okay, so I'm gonna pull out David Hockney. David Hockney would like straight up do this because like he was way into color relationships and making colors look more vibrant by contrasting them against one another. And he would throw like red on a blue or a green background to really make those colors pop. And it's very sophisticated way of using color. And you know, I love how non-specific certain areas are, but then other areas like this fencing is very, very specific.
Yeah, right.
And like defined. But yeah, sometimes it can be hard to tell what you're looking at when it's like this area. You just have to guess that that's probably a wall. And that's why you can't see the rest of that sheep.
I'm kind of torn with whether or not you should actually isolate the two characters, because I do love all of the animals gathering around. I mean, there's humor in that, and there's a familiarity in that as well. But so yeah, I think it could go either way.
Wait, here's an idea. What if the next time she paints something like this, which is so beautiful, by the way, what if the characters in the background that are not as important were not as saturated?
Yeah.
With the color, you mean? And the
if they were pushed back, like if these like this ochre, and then you know, like the dark grays that are being used in the blacks here were not as dark or saturated, and that would really push them back visually. They would still be present, but not as clearly defined as this character in the foreground.
They wouldn't compete with him as the prime animal relationship. Yeah.
It's a thought.
Yeah.
So does anybody else have something to add to Virginia's piece? I think we're all done with critiquing for the night.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was a wonderful critique. That was first rate, guys. And the great comments from the group on the text chat as well. Do we, Girllustrators, do we have time for like 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 general questions from the group if they have any about critiquing generally and self-critiquing as well as group critiquing? Can we take 2, 3 suggestions? I mean, questions?
Sure.
Are you back to normal screen, by the way?
Let me put you up, Marcia. Yes, although it's gotten very dark where you are, the sun has gone down, so you are in deep shadow.
That's okay.
But we do see you, and that's fine. So yeah, we're all on full screen, and I'm going to check the wall for any questions if there are any closing thoughts. Do you guys want to, who have been watching, do you want to? And we will, for those of you that didn't have your pieces shown tonight, we're going to have time during the series to show all these pieces, and we will look at everything. But the Girllustrators wanted to pull out a few to make examples of them. And you're getting lots of compliments, Girllustrators. Everybody is saying thank you. Great critique, and you are all wonderful. Virginia says, thank you, Girllustrators. I really like the early deadline. It helps so much. Okay, no wonder y'all got your work in on time.
Deadlines. Lelena.
Elena pushed a little harder than we usually do around here, and it worked. My goodness.
I'm just enjoying looking through all of the other work as well. I'm just so impressed, and it's just so fun to see everything.
It really is. Everybody, you all really pushed and got some great pieces in. I'm looking for any last minute questions. We don't always have the Girllustrators with us, so this is a chance to get some questions in. While we're waiting for a question, I'm going to ask, guys, how do you distinguish when you're at a group critique, like you go to an SCBWI meeting, how do you distinguish between a valid and an invalid criticism, and how do you handle that when you hear something that doesn't quite work for you?
Well, I wouldn't even call any critique or comment invalid, because it's all valid in terms of being from someone else's perspective.
Okay.
It's more whether it aligns with my intent.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Every circumstance is different then.
Right. I mean, you just kind of, how close it matches up with what you're intending to do with the project.
Okay. Great.
It really has to, it's like you have to really know you, right? And the art that you're making. And I totally agree with you, Elena, that it's not necessarily about it being invalid. Now, there can be hurtful things that are being said, and that's not okay. But that is so few and far between. It's very rare. But I totally agree with you, Elena.
And then Girllustrators, how do you know when a piece is good enough to add to your portfolio or a mailing, or a dummy mailing package? How do you evaluate that? How do you know and are comfortable with your decision to move forward or not?
Critique group.
What? Bring it in front of the critique group, Liz Marie?
Yeah.
Let them tell you when it's good enough? Is that what you do?
Yes.
She just did this awesome piece for a promotional mailer that I've not been great about putting together at this point. But yeah, it's like that promotional mailer and like seeing people bring in work. And Luz Marie's piece for that, which I don't know if you put out yet. It's so beautiful. So yeah.
Sometimes we don't know when a piece we do is so good. It might be great, but we don't see it because we've been looking at it too much. So it takes a group to tell you, yes, send that.
It is, and I mean, it works kind of in the I don't know if the opposite way is the right way to say it, but to have a group of people that you really admire and respect keeps you motivated to do your best. And so it's kind of like asking myself, well, is this on par with everybody else's work? Because everybody else is doing amazing work. And so, you know, of course, I never think that my work is as good as everybody else's, but you know, if it's like, seriously, if you feel like it's on the level with your colleagues, that's a pretty good way to judge.
I encourage you to keep going, like not to, because in this, sometimes it's very hard because it's you need a lot of patience and it's a very long process. So you feel that compromise with them because they are encouraging you and supporting you, and so you just need to keep going.
And let them encourage you. Take solace from that, or take encouragement from that, right? And don't turn your back on it and not disbelieve it.
Well, plus, I think
that's what you're saying.
I think we've all encouraged each other, in addition with just the need of constantly having the momentum going and putting things out on social media and, you know, continuing to draw on a routine basis to accept work that isn't, you know, maybe every single piece isn't going to be your best work, but just continuing to work and being able to show that, you know, have that to show for yourself in itself is valuable. Every single piece doesn't have to be, you know, a prize-winning piece.
Yeah, otherwise it's too precious if that's the case. And it's too perfect, and everybody goes blank with that. They like
atrophy if you're doing that. Like you literally would never put any work out.
No, you would just freeze, or you'd never release something. Yeah. Vanessa, did you have a comment?
Oh, I was just gonna say that every Girllustrator meeting, I leave so inspired, and it is so encouraging to be around this group of extremely talented and creative women, and yeah, like Lelena said, it keeps you motivated. There have been many times where I've been so disheartened just by, you know, multiple rejection letters, or, you know, working on something for so long and not getting it right, and then I go to a meeting and I'm motivated again. It is wonderful to have this great support group.
That's a great point. It's a great note to end on. I don't see any questions from the group, guys, in the chat. All I see is many thanks to you all for comments. So let's check real quick the calendar here. We've got, let's see. Give me 1 second to pull this up. We've got Vanessa next month with her journey with Lucy in the String, being published next month by Penguin Random House. Yay! And that's going to be real exciting. And the Girllustrators are all going to be there at the party. And Vanessa, did we decide on the 23rd or the 30th of August for that session? We can fine tune it. It's not set in stone.
I think it was the 30th for the 30th. The August.
Okay, tentatively the 30th of August, end of the month, and then we'll give you guys more of a schedule on what's coming up after that, including very possibly with Rebecca, with Vanessa's agent, Rebecca Sherman, with Writer House, and then the Girllustrators are going to be back with us in September, we hope, we think. Of course, this is not quite set in stone yet, all these dates, and we'll be talking about promotion, mailers, all kinds of stuff like that. And once again, congratulations to Shuang for her beautiful book. And I'll send out a link where you can order this incredible. I was once a stem cell, written by and illustrated in watercolor by a scientist. Let me see the funniest. There's so many funny, little, adorable, charming pictures in here. If I can find just one. Well, look. Well, it's not funny, but it's just.
Oh, I love that.
Beautiful.
That's so cool. I wish I could see it bigger. I'm.
Yeah.
So you have a link that you're going to send out?
I'll send the link out to where you can order her hardcover book, and and we're gonna and maybe we'll get to hear some more from Shuang in the near future. That is it. Let's go down the row here. Lelena, thank you so much. Wonderful comments, wonderful critique, guys. Luz Marie, thank you so much. Marcia, Vanessa, our 4-H girl. Were you a 4-H girl?
I was.
Yeah, I thought that's what they were sort of intimating.
Goats and cows, yeah.
In Williamson County. Guys, thanks to all of you for such great work. We'll close the meeting. Girllustrators, if you'll stay with me for just a second for a quick debrief. It'll be real quick, I promise, 30 seconds. And otherwise, we will say goodnight. And I'll send the transcript out so you can read their glowing comments, Girllustrators, that they were making, and just things they were telling each other as well. And I'll send you guys the transcript link as well. Okay, thanks, guys. We will see you all next time.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.